Hi, welcome back to Argot Metro. I didn't think I would have time for a video, but I actually do have a little bit of time, so I wanted to do an updated how much does it cost for the 996, and then just tell you how it's going, how the car's doing, and how I'm doing with the car. So, welcome to my office. I'm on the floor. I have a Amazon box that I'm using as a stand. So if it falls suddenly, that's why, because my desk is very stable. Okay, so I think last time in my last video it was at a year, and then I did give like a rough estimate of how much I spent on all that stuff. So I'm just going to reiterate, I'm going to go back over everything that I've done to the car since I got it. I don't really have a cost estimate. I can give you a rough estimate, but I don't have exact numbers. For that, I would have to go into the car, and I keep every receipt. I keep everything, all the service history in the car itself. So right now it's raining, torrentially raining, so I'm not going to do that. But I can at least give you a little bit of an estimate. All right, so I bought the car in March of 2020, right, like the end of March, right when COVID was really starting to kind of blow up and get big. Bought the car with cash, so didn't have any car payments, didn't have any interest, and this was kind of like the 996's low point, so I got really lucky because I really got it for what would now today be a steal, and definitely the best money I've ever spent, probably ever, on anything. So now, if you're looking at how much my 996 costs, so I have a Carrera 4 Cabriolet. Currently has 90,000 miles on it. When I bought it, it had 70. I bought it for $22,700 at Porsche, Colorado, and that was when it had 70,000 miles on it, and that was 2 years ago, so again, at that low point. Now, with just the way the current market is, it's very, very hot. My current, even with 90,000 miles, I actually got it evaluated the other day at Porsche, Colorado, because I was looking at this beautiful 996 C4S, but they were going to give me quite a bit more than I paid for it, even 2 years ago, with 20,000 less miles on it. So that just kind of indicates just how ridiculous the market is. You can probably buy my car, so a 996 Carrera 4 Cabriolet manual. Mine has the IMS, RMS done, and then also the PCCM, so that might add some value to it. But you're looking at probably 28,000 if you, that's on the low end, if you want to buy one. But they're still kind of attainable right now. I feel like the 996 is starting to get some love, though, which makes me happy in one way, because I love my 996. It's my favorite car I've ever owned. Yes, more than the 997 Turbo, and it's probably just my emotional connection specifically to the 996, but I love it just as much as our 718 Spider. So I think for the money, these cars are like, they're the best sports car, at least best Porsche you can buy for the money. So what have I done to the car? Let's see. I did the air oil separator. So that one, actually, the air oil separator is a pretty common 996 problem. And mine actually went bad, so I had to replace that. I believe it was around, I really don't remember, this was 2 years ago, but I think it was around $600 for the parts and the labor. I did the IMS and RMS preventative. I believe it was Ellen Engineering. Porsche, Colorado installed it, and we got a 2-year warranty with that. My recommendation, if you get your IMS, RMS done, get the warranty with it. Make sure that it's warranted by the shop, because I'll get to that in a second. Then I got the PCCM Plus, which cost, the part itself, I believe, costs around $1,300 just for the part, but with installation, it costs around, I believe it was $2,000, $2,500, somewhere around there. Worth it. I daily drive my car, and I think if you daily drive your 996, which they're great dailies, and you care about technology at all, then, and especially if you're coming from something that has Apple CarPlay, the PCCM Plus is 100% worth it. So then after that, the secondary air pump went bad, and I'd say that was about a year into ownership. It was making a horrible screeching noise from the rear of the car. To buy the Porsche part was really expensive. I want to say the part alone was like $2,000, and I was like, I'm not paying that because I can get the Bosch part for $500. So I can replace it 4 times if I need to if it goes bad. Because Porsche dealerships won't necessarily warranty non-Porsche authentic parts. So that one's not under warranty, but that's okay. I'm not too worried about it. So this is all in the last year. So this is updated since my last video. The first thing to happen was the IMS RMS. So they caught it really early. This was in, I believe, June of last year, so last summer. It was a couple months after I made my video. I believe the secondary air pump was right after I made the video, so that might have been in like April, and then the IMS RMS was in June. So I noticed my clutch felt funny, and I also noticed, I think it was mostly with the clutch that I noticed the problem. It just felt weird. There was no weird noises. I really can't remember the details. I think it was just the clutch feeling odd. And so they looked at it and they did a full, whatever it is, 120-point inspection or whatever. And they found that the IMS was actually, I think it was leaking or something. It was doing something weird. It needed to be replaced. So my replacement that was supposed to prevent problems with the IMS and prevent my engine from blowing up actually had an issue. And so Porsche Colorado warrantied it when they installed it, and so they actually replaced the IMS and the RMS again, completely under warranty, so I didn't have to pay anything for that. I love Porsche Colorado because they're so honest with their service. You know, if you don't need something, I've asked them about my suspension like 3 times, and they're like, no, it's fine, you don't need it. So whereas this, they were like, oh no, this is a problem. Luckily they caught it really early, but we're gonna have to fix this. So I have my 3rd IMS RMS. So far so good. So they do a checkup on an oil change, on the next oil change, and it's all been great. And I've had like 3 oil changes since then, I think. So she's looking real good. So after that, I had a new clutch and clutch assembly done. So again, this was the clutch just feeling funny again, in a different way that the IMS RMS did. And when they looked at the clutch, they just said that, I believe they did this when they were in there for the IMS RMS. They said that it was worn, and it was more than 50% worn, and they recommend replacement if it's more than 50% worn. This is the original clutch, so I didn't have an issue with that. I know some clutches will last a lot longer, mileage-wise, but this is a 20-year-old clutch, so I didn't want to have any issues with it because I need my car to be reliable, so I went ahead and replaced it. So new clutch and clutch assembly, that was around, I want to say that was around $3,200 for all of that, and this is including labor. The next thing was brakes. So my brakes were old. The brake pads were fine, but the brakes themselves were they're just old. And I drive my 996 like it might as well be a 992 GT3 every day. So I'm very hard on it. I drive it in crazy snowstorms. I drove it 1,000 miles in one day. And then I have fun with it. So I'm just not easy on any part of this car. And so I really wanted new brakes, and they were pretty worn, so they recommended they be replaced. So got all new brakes, and this was right before I drove the car to Texas. So I drove it 1,000 miles, the first 300 of which ish, 300 of which were in ice. So really horrible conditions, snow, ice, just gross. And then I drove it all the way to Texas, and I broke the brakes in on that trip, I think, or shortly after, and they're wonderful. I love them. Porsche brakes are very good, so it goes along for safety for my GT3 driving. So great brakes. Very happy that I got those replaced. And then I don't know if I mentioned this last time. This is way back when we first got the car, but we did get winter tires for it because I daily it. So we have a set of Michelin Super Sports for summer, which will probably have to be replaced next year. And then a set of Pirelli SottoZero 3s for the winter. And they're great in the snow, including some ice. Funny story, kind of unrelated, but the day that I left for Texas, we got hit with it was 6 inches of snow, and it was a hot day before that, so it iced, everything froze. So you have ice and then you have snow. Well, that day I had put my summers, back on so that I could drive to Texas. Because Texas, I obviously don't need my winters. I'll destroy them if I drive my winters down here. So I had to drive on summers through an ice. It wasn't storming, but it was icy and snowy and gross all the way down to Texas. But tires did great. Car did great. So there were more cars and ditches than there were on the road that day in Colorado, and I'm just so impressed with my car. I feel very safe in it, and I love the 996. It's just such an incredibly capable car in any condition. So yeah, new brakes, winter tires. And then the most recent thing, which I just did today, was a new clutch pedal. So my helper spring broke. My husband was driving. This is down here in Texas, very enthusiastically. And I was sitting, and I obviously love it. Like, he pushes the car just as hard as I do, and I fully support him doing that. But he went to push the clutch in to shift gears, and I just heard it snap, and I was like, oh. And no change in the performance of the car, and I knew that he was changing gears. I knew he had the clutch pressed in, and that he did it aggressively. And then just from where the sound was, I figured it was the helper spring. So it snapped in half. So I took it to Porsche Austin, and they did a full inspection of the car, which meant a lot to me because I had just driven it. I'd put 2,000 miles on it at this point in 2 months, and I wanted to make sure it was good after that really long trip. And then daily driving it in Austin traffic is horrible, so just wanted to make sure it was good. And everything was good except for the helper spring. So they recommended that I just replace the whole clutch pedal, that whole assembly, which I did. So that cost me about $600. So I think the service per hour is more expensive in Austin than it is in Colorado, or at least at Porsche Austin versus Porsche Colorado, because and there are discounts. So if you're a PCA member, you can get I believe it's 10% off the labor, which is important. If you're a PCA member, use it. Porsche Colorado also does a military discount, so our service is always cheaper at Porsche Colorado. So I was kind of sticker shocked at the price of that, and I was like, well, I could probably do it myself, but this is my daily driver, I really don't want to mess with it. So $600. The part costs like $100, $500 it took them a couple hours, so that stinks, but worth it. And then Porsche Austin's really cool because they have this beautiful waiting room, and there's glass, and you can see straight into the shop. So today, when my first day there, which was last week, just to have them look at the car, there was a GT2 RS and then a GT3 up on the lift, and then all sorts of other like cool, like classic cars. They had everything in there, lots of Macans, but everything in there. And then it was really cool to see my car up on the lift and see them working on it. Today when I walked in and I looked out, and I couldn't help myself, but there was a freaking GT Silver 918 Spider up on the lift next where the GT2 RS was. And I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. And one of the salesmen was like laughing at me, but you just don't see that every day. Porsche Colorado has an amazing, they're my favorite dealership. They're amazing. And they have all sorts of cool cars. They have multiple Stingers, GT2 RS, they had a Carrera GT just sitting there. It was speed yellow. I was like, oh my god. A Carrera GT, they had a 918 Spider. I think that was also speed yellow. And then they had a speed yellow Stinger. So 3 speed yellow, like rare, classic, just beautiful, legendary cars just sitting next to each other. But I've never seen one in the shop. And so I love the fact that you can sit in and look at the shop. So, both experiences at both dealerships have been great. The service is really excellent. I'm just very loyal to Porsche Colorado. I'm grateful for Porsche Austin. I'm glad that such a good dealership is here, but I do miss my Porsche Colorado people. So anyway, so that's the story of my 996. So I would estimate that I've probably put $10,000 to $12,000 into it in the past 2 years, which again is not cheap. I know, I remember my last video, I was like, well, hopefully this is it. I'm future-proofing the car. The truth is, it's a 20-year-old car that I drive every day in all sorts of conditions, and I drive it, like I said, like a 992 GT3, and that's on me. So if you just weekend your car and you baby it, I'm sure, and you find a good one with a good history, I'm sure you're fine. You probably won't spend near as much as I do on your car, but usually for people, especially if you're, around my age, if you're buying this to daily it, I want you to know how much it really costs, because it's not just the cost of the car you have to consider. These are 20-year-old cars that you're gonna want to push and play with every day. You can't help it. It sounds so good and it's so much fun. It's like a therapy all in itself. So they're expensive, but they're worth it. All right, if you have any questions or comments, please comment below. Unless it's rude, then just don't. But usually the comments are really nice. So thank you for watching my video. Hope you learned something. And if you have a 996, they're the best. All right, y'all have a good day. Bye.